And I guess the most important thing to start is, when do we end? Is it
10 till.
10 till?
10 till.
Okay. All right. So it's great to be back. I know that you are all here for various reasons. I know that some of you are required to come. And some of you may have chosen to come, so it's always good to talk with students. And as far as the topic goes, I thought when they invited me, maybe I'd do something with K-12 online learning, and then Charles suggested this topic. It was one of those things that I love talking about. You know, I think everyone that has a happy ending likes to talk about that happy ending. You know? But also, I hope that this is a conversation I probably prepared more than I can present in the time that we have together. So if you have questions, ask them as we go, and then I'll also ask for faculty here if you have any advice. Jump in. Don't be hesitant to share your experiences as well. So this day will come. This is 2013 for me. It happens faster or sooner than you might expect. But just amazing faculty here. It was such a great privilege. Is that okay with the photo? Yeah. Your eyes were a little closed, but.
They always are.
Where were you standing?
I don't think Charles took this photo, so afterwards we took this one. That's my chair on a chair. So, but the mentoring here is just fantastic. I think it's one of the best parts about being in the IP&T program. There's so many opportunities to work with faculty and to be mentored by them, and just really enjoy it. So. That's my advice to you. So right now, as Charles said, I'm in George Mason University, which is Fairfax, Virginia. To kind of orient you a little bit, you have Georgetown, George Washington, American University, Maryland. This is faculty that I work with, and I'm really blessed to have such an amazing group to work with. Very supportive from day one, and I've learned a lot over the last 3.5 years. So, kind of the agenda, I'll talk a little bit about pros and cons of being a faculty member. Who's pretty sure that's the career path that you want to take? Okay, so we got 4. Who's considering it? Okay, more. And for those the rest of you, hopefully this presentation will still be insightful for you. You can kind of apply it to your own context and your own interviewing process. But this is kind of the chronological order that you kind of go through, and I'll try to do that. But then also if there's time, or maybe at Soup Kitchen, I can talk about how to enjoy your first year, right? And that was kind of something that I learned along the way with, so I'd be happy to talk to you about that. So I just want to start, being a faculty member is a great job, right? Working on campus, being able to work with students. I love my job, and I actually live really close to campus, so I walk to work and get the sense of campus, love it. But it's only a good job if you enjoy teaching, doing research, mentoring, serving the field, all those types of things. So my advice to you is find that out now, don't wait. What you don't want to do is get into a faculty position and think, what did I just spend the last 5 years of my life preparing for? This isn't what I like to do, right? So if there's teaching opportunities, take those. Research opportunities, definitely take those. And if you like it, then odds are you're going to like the faculty position. I felt that my transition was very smooth because I was already doing a lot of this really from the first semester that I was here. And so there was not a lot of surprises. There were a few surprises, but it was a very smooth transition for me. So how do faculty spend their time? I can't answer that, but I did find a study that found out how 30 faculty at Boise State spend their time. And so I kind of found that this was not too off from me. I think what's off is the weekend time. I don't spend that much time on the weekend. I really try to protect that time, and it's very doable. But I would say kind of 50 hours during the week is common for me. I work from 9 to 5 typically. I don't stay much past 5 normally. And then at nights I'll probably, once the kids are asleep, I'll probably put an hour and a half in or something like that. I think that's answer emails, things like that. Is that pretty similar to Royce? You're new.
I'm not answering in front of my chair. I was always told first 5 years as a faculty member is about the same as doing your dissertation over again. It's about the same amount of effort on weekdays and weekends. Mine's been a little bit easier than that, but so I say it's pretty accurate. Probably for me it's a little bit less.
Right. So Royce and I are really working to become associates, because we'll have that extra 27 minutes once we make associate, where we don't spend quite as much. But I feel like what you notice is it's not like it lightens up. anytime. You just do different types of things, right? Charles, you want to comment on that?
I mean, I would say my experience isn't so different from Royce's. I mean, one of the things that I looked forward to, you know, your life is a little out of balance as a doctoral student because, you know, you're oftentimes working and trying to do all of your schoolwork. So I would say it was very rare as a doctoral student that I wasn't putting in 5, 6, 8 hours of work on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But now I try and protect my weekend time. There are times when I have to do stuff on a Saturday because I, you know, work a couple of hours on a Saturday because I did not budget my or prioritize my time well enough during the week, or I just had too much, but I try and protect that. So.
And I think that's important. I mean, you want to use your time wisely, like in any job. I remember this Onion article I saw a couple of years ago where this company creates a relaxed atmosphere so that workers can finish their work at home, you know, that sort of thing. You still want to have a relaxed atmosphere, you know, that's important. But you also want to budget your time well.
Jared, can I just mention too, I
Yeah.
think one of the things that I found at other institutions was it wasn't the norm for faculty often to be married, even married,
Mhm.
or it certainly wasn't the norm for them to have kids, and so that required a certain level of protecting your time, and like, as Charles said, as you said, and so I think that we're kind of outside of the norm, but I think we can still do it, but it's just different from what we see other people doing it.
So my experience, my very first semester, we had a work meeting with some students and we're setting up a follow-up meeting. And the only time that they could meet was Sundays, right? So I just said, well, I can't meet on Sunday, and they ended up meeting without me, which was fine. But I just kind of set that standard, you know, and being members of the church, there's certain things you don't want to bend on. And that also helps you have balance with the Sabbath, but also Saturday with your family. So I love this comic. This is fairly recent. I recommend following them. But you know, you have a lot of flexibility. That's huge. So if I need to have Daddy Day at an elementary school or something like that, that's easy to do. That's not hard at all. But at the same time, what you don't want to do is be so flexible that you're working constantly. You have to have some balance there. And I think that goes for faculty, but just about any position now. Aside from some positions being close to DC, some of my friends, they can't work more than 40 hours a week, right? It's like regulated. Most jobs aren't that way. So, the professor life, the question is, are you going to be rich? The short answer is no, you're not. But you're not poor either. So this is higher education. New assistant professors, you see at a research institute, 61. The offers that I received, you know, 4 years ago, were ballpark that area, which is lower than I was expecting. But what I wasn't considering is that there's summer pay, and where I'm at, I've maxed out my summer pay every year, which is 33%. There's always grant and consulting work that you can do. So each year, I think the lowest I've made in consulting is about $6,000. And I think part of that is being in DC. There's lots of opportunities. You know, do you want to give this talk for X amount of dollars to this group, international group, or things like that. But there's always ways to kind of supplement your income. And there's opportunities to do that. Also, when you make associate, there's a pay raise. So at Mason, that's $5,000. That's just flat. It used to be $1,500 until a couple of years ago, and then they changed that. But those are types of things that you want to consider as, you know, talking to faculty members about how they maybe make a little extra. Preparing early, obviously, I think I've heard talks like this before, so I won't labor this, but publish and present early, teach, take the special courses. That's one thing that I didn't do. David Wiley was teaching a course on OER that I didn't take, right? Huge mistake, because now I hear that all the time. Faculty pick topics that are interesting to them or important to them and important to students. So take advantage of those types of courses. Also create an online presence, Google yourself, see what's there. You want to control that as much as possible. And just practice talking to people about your research. When people say, what's your major? Don't just brush it off. Tell them, right? Just practice talking about what you're doing. And that'll help you when you go to conferences and things like that. go to ACT every year. ACT isn't my home conference anymore. I still go. I've been twice since I graduated, but that's where you're going to get your job, right? I don't know of an organization that does a better job bringing in grad students and really giving them opportunities. There's lots of awards that you can earn, you know, and I know that IP&T has been fairly active with that. You can apply to be an intern, go to Breakfast of Champions. There's all sorts of opportunities at ACT. There's a job board. When you're on the market, use a job board and actually text those people, the contacts on there, set up meeting times, and just talk with them. Ask them about the program. They'll remember you, and that'll help. For me, I applied to 35 positions. I got 7 campus interviews. 4 of those were people that I had spoken to at ACT. One other person, well, at Mason, I didn't speak to anyone at Mason, but they all knew David Valley, you know. Pretty much everyone knows David Valley. And then also the other one, a former member of their faculty had moved to BYU, and so they were aware of our department. So it's really, that's how you get the campus interview, is just to let people know who you are. So I was at one campus interview, and he, in the elevator, kind of passingly, he said, we had 90 applications. We invited you because you spoke to me at ACT. I mean, he flat out said, that's why you're here, right? I probably wouldn't have gotten a campus interview if I didn't contact him and make the effort. That can be kind of hard. You got to shake lots of hands. You don't have to be even very good at shaking hands, right? You can just do it. And I wouldn't bring up Trump in your campus interviews either. But that was probably the best advice that I got, was from my sister. I said, I'm not good at networking, and she said, it's easy, shake hands. That's all you got to do. Just introduce yourself, shake hands, have conversations. And the more hands you shake, the better off you'll be. Join the ACT Facebook pages. Here's one where Trey basically said, hey, we're going to have an opening soon, right? And I found that out because I was following that Facebook page. There's kind of 3 cycles. This one was posted to a Facebook page recently that said, you know, we have kind of an unexpected thing. So if you're not successful in the first round, there's going to be other opportunities. So don't worry too much about that, but you do want to take advantage of those first postings. You apply by the Chronicle and Higher Ed. You can create alerts. I would actually recommend doing that now so that you can kind of get a feel for what the job postings are, even if you're not going to be on the market for a couple of years, just so you can kind of see what's the quantity, what are they really looking for. And when you look at the job postings and you apply and you don't get invited, you can be pretty discouraged, you know. I've had moments like that. It's like, why didn't that work out? Or I had a phone interview and I didn't get a campus interview. It can be discouraging, but at the same time, don't take it personally. What they're really looking for is a good fit. And so maybe you weren't the fit. Or sometimes they already have someone in mind, you know. So apply to as many as you can. Don't worry about rejection. Just do it. So when you look at the job postings, there's required qualifications and then there's preferred qualifications. I don't know how it is at every institution, but I was talking with someone at Arizona State, and she said that they actually have a form with the required qualifications where they have to check off that it was on your cover letter or on your application materials and where it was on your application materials. And then they send that to HR. And even if they know you and you don't put it in your cover letter or your CV, they can't check that box off, even if they know that you meet that qualification, right? Because HR won't allow that. So one thing you want to do is use this language. Make it easy for them to be able to recognize that you're meeting those qualifications. Okay. And then the preferred qualifications as well. I'm seeing this on almost every job posting, the ability to teach online. That's huge. So if you have opportunities to do that, or even design something that could be used in a course or something like that, that's only going to help you. But notice it's ability too. So there's some wiggle room there. But
Jared, can I say something about that? Starting in fall of 2017, well, we've been piloting courses already, but starting in fall of 2017, all of the educational technology courses that we're teaching will have at least one online section taught each semester. So there'll be 3 courses. Right now there's only 2 courses, but there'll be 3 starting in the fall, and there'll be at least one online section every semester. And there's going to be one course that all of the secondary and elementary ed majors are required to take that's actually teaching them how to be online instructors. And all of those sections will be taught online. So there should be lots of opportunities if you're wanting to develop this ability and get experience that you can put on a resume, whether it's for a faculty position or for, a lot of the instructional design positions want you to have experience teaching because you're a better designer if you've taught. So there are a lot of opportunities coming up.
That's a great point. And even at Mason, we developed a course that offers some digital badges for anybody. It's open to doc students or faculty to kind of certify themselves to be able to teach online. So anything like that is just going to help you, right? It's a line on the CV, but they're looking for that line. So application materials is pretty basic, right? Let me just walk through some of these a little bit. When you're preparing your materials, you want to know the university's mission. So if you look at these 3 BYUs, how are the missions different? What do you think? Yeah.
BYU, I think, has more emphasis on research than the other 2.
Okay, good. So this is research focused, right?
More so.
Yeah.
More so? Yeah. What about BYU Idaho? What's going on in BYU Idaho?
Access. They just mentioned yesterday that they're actually serving more online students than they are face-to-face.
Yeah, yeah. So with the Pathways and Pathways Worldwide, they've kind of been the leader of the 3 organizations as far as teaching goes. Yeah.
I'm a Christian. So that they have a graduate program here, not so much as
Okay, good. So here we have grad school, so we're preparing scholars and here as well. What about BYU Hawaii? How's that different?
Population, sir?
What? Sorry?
Yeah, the population, it seems like they focus on the Polynesians or...
Okay, good. So if I was applying for them, I'd focus more on diversity, things like that. But also if I was applying here, I'd focus more on research here, I'd focus more on teaching. It's not that they don't care about those things. You're going to want to highlight your research and teaching and all those things regardless, but you might want to place a larger emphasis on that. Universities have mission statements. Read those mission statements, okay? They also have, like, the teaching model at BYU Idaho. People have that as well. They have design models and things like that that are created in the university. And if you go to campus, they're everywhere. But you might not be aware about them unless you do an internet search. I'm not even talking about a deep internet search. This is first page Google type stuff, but you need to do your homework. And then that will change the materials that you prepare. So one bit of advice that I give to you is apply even if you don't think you're a good fit, because sometimes that changes. I know it's one position. This is good timing. I applied to one position, and they were really looking at a Peter, When I was reading it, they wanted someone who could do coding and stuff like that. I thought that wasn't me. I even spoke to them at ACT, and they said, yes, that's what we want. I applied anyway, and then during my campus interview, I said, I'm kind of surprised that you invited me. And they're like, yeah, but we kind of changed what we were looking for, right? So I would still apply. It doesn't hurt at all. It doesn't take too much time, and it might you might get lucky. So with the cover letter, this is the first thing that they're going to see. I really like this, that you want to customize it to what they're doing. I probably didn't do this as much as what he's describing. By the way, I just posted, what advice would you give to grad students? And I got lots of advice. So that's where the screenshots are coming from. I think I could have done a better job of that, but at the same time, I also knew that some of these search committees are reading a lot. And so I wanted it to be easy for them to kind of pick out what they're looking for. So this is what mine looked like. Can someone read that in the back for us? That doesn't really matter, but basically what you can see is that I've got research, teaching, design, and service, and then I've kind of bullet pointed those out, and I've used the language from the call to make sure that I'm meeting those things. Looking back, I probably could have done a better job bringing in their mission statements and things like that, really personalizing it more than what I had done. And then I'd also personalize this below. But then in the teaching statement, I would always say, I'm ready to teach these courses, or I'd really like the opportunity to teach these courses. And this is a job that I actually got. And under here I said, I really want to teach in the Integration of Online Learning in Schools program, and that's what they hired me to do. So when they're looking through that, they can point that out and say, you know, that's what we need.
Can I make a comment about cover
Yeah.
letters too? So I've applied for like 100 jobs that I have not been qualified for, and I did not get any of those jobs. But oftentimes I've gotten in-person interviews, and they've told me they said it doesn't look like you really match this position, but the reason why we invited you to interview was because of this glowing cover letter that you provided, and so like those can make a really big difference in getting in person for jobs.
Yeah. And I don't think I realize that so much. I think that I'm just going to rely on my number of publications and things like that, but I feel like I could have done a better job of personalizing it. I think it does provide you with more eyes or more consideration if you're able to do that. So I asked Peter, you know, what advice would you give? And I think he was talking about the process as a whole, but I know that you were the chair of the search committee. And I really like this idea of, you know, it was clear when someone wants a job or when someone really wants to work with us. You know, do you want to add to that a little bit, or your experience being on the search committee?
So sometimes people are just looking for a job. Sometimes people just want a job, right? And they're looking for a professor job. And sometimes they have a vision of what they would do if they were to get the job that you're advertising for. And I think, Charles, if you could support this, it was really clear when you're interviewing somebody. And these are the people that have usually made it past the first and sometimes the second stage. It was clear if they had a vision, because you kind of are excited to have, yeah, there's a passion, there's a vision, I'm gonna come here and here's what I wanna do, as opposed to, hire me, I can fill the holes that you've got, right? I've got the skills that are advertised for. So that's why they make it past the first stage, because they fit. But if they come and all they're gonna do is fit, and they're not gonna drive you forward, then it's the people who are gonna drive things forward that tend to stick out.
Right, that's a great point. So really during that campus interview, when you recognize that. So as far as phone interview questions, you can Google and find lots of them, but I called, or I emailed Peter to get the interview questions that they used in the last process. And these were some of the better ones that I saw, so I also included that. Well, better is in more difficult, where they say, you know, what do you understand about our department? You know, I think that could be really telling. And then down here it says, what do you understand our department's focus and purpose to be? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys, you're on the spot, 2 minutes, and with someone next to you, discuss this question. And if you're looking for a faculty position, grill them. You know, really get to them. But talk about, what do you understand the department's focus and purpose to be? How would you answer that? So you got a couple minutes.
What's the other side?
I was gonna have to grill. Everybody thinks it. Yeah.
Well, if I were to try to say this was just from preparing
Our program
I'll listen to
is all about using a myriad of resources.
as far as I can tell, our department is to primarily prepare
University level, businesses, it's broad, and it's up to each individual person in the program, whether it's a faculty member or a grad student, to decide what they want to do specifically with that, how they want to use what they learn in our program,
but in our case,
to improve learning
soon to be
in whatever aspect of instruction.
I mean,
So that's why there's so much focus on the
So what's the applications?
Yeah.
So what's the program?
real projects. Explains the
West right now, and being a research assistant around them, I would say the same thing. I felt the research I'm doing with Dr. McDonald right now is all the way up here, mentoring. So like, what's a benefit?
Everything you said is
During peer mentoring, well, you learn how to teach, and you learn how to educate. Instead of just being educated, being taught, you learn how to teach, and through that, you also learn how to mentor.
So like if I was,
That's with the little amount of experience that I have. But,
LDS, it is probably, because it's owned by the church, we know this institution, instructional design, their primary focus is like one of the models of the school, bringing instructional design to certain.
There's a lot that we develop. I mean,
Are they more
like
research?
when you say professional, there's a lot that involves also a lot of professional.
You can finish your thoughts and then let's bring it back.
Evaluators. And then we have some
I don't think we're that great.
Yeah. Unique, we'll say that.
Yeah.
Okay, Kyle, I love what Kyle did. He asked that question and then he Googled it, right? He found the IP&T mission statement right there and started reading it off. Well, if the interview is a phone interview, you can probably do that, right? So you probably don't want to work.
What was that? You broke up for a minute?
But I think that's good, and I really like this second question. What do you think a good vision is for us 5 to 10 years? Because then you're critiquing their program a little bit, right? So you're saying you're doing this really well, but there's some opportunities in this area. So, like I said, these are the harder questions, and I remember getting some really tough questions that I don't feel like I was very prepared for. So you can't relax during these things, and you have to prepare for them. Typically what happens is, let's see, they'll give you a little bit of leeway, some preparation. Oops. How do I go? They'll give you some time, but I like these 2 bits of advice is answer the question, right? Don't talk around the question. Don't over talk. Get your message across. And so I work with Kevin. He's great. And I like this idea of if you keep talking and talking and talking, it's more opportunities for you to say something that's going to raise a red flag. You know? I don't know if you want to have that attitude, but just answer the question. Simple. So what's kind of the timeline? So this is one example that I had.
Jared,
So-
can I add one thing to
yeah.
that? I remember a few years back when we were hiring I remember several years back when we were hiring, it's also okay when you're asked questions to also say, actually I don't know that, right? Sometimes people try to talk through things like they know them and they don't, and it's clear usually when you're trying to do that. It was really refreshing. We had a candidate who did that. So of course then we had a candidate who did it too much, and we're like, he doesn't know anything.
So what if you said something like, I hadn't really thought about that before, but let me give it a shot.
Yeah, that's different, yeah. Or if it's the content you're expecting them to teach and they don't know it, then that usually throws up a red flag. But it was refreshing. We had somebody who did a really good job of when they answered those, knowing when not to just try and bluff their way through it. To say, I haven't had any experience with that. I don't think that I could give a fair answer to that. So it's okay to do that as well.
I also think that on the campus interview, it's exhausting. And I was talking with someone who said that their dean really liked to ruffle feathers, just to see how people would react. So don't take things personally. You're on the hot seat. They're going to challenge you, push you. And it's not so much what you're saying, but how you're saying it. And so you need to just stay calm during that process. This one didn't have a great result. I got my phone interview. This was nearly February, and then in April it said we filled the position, right? So that's common, that you just won't hear anything from them until it's over, or you won't hear anything from them, period, right? That was nice that they sent, we filled the position type email. So here's another one that had a better ending. So October 18th, mid-November, they said, we want to have a phone interview. Notice that they gave me quite a bit of time, right? So they said Friday, December 3rd, so you know what I was doing in between then. And then the campus interview was soon after the break, right? So that kind of gives you a timeline there. So don't worry if you're not hearing things the first month or so, but after that you probably didn't get the phone interview. Once you get the campus interview, it's rigorous. So this is an actual agenda that I was received, and this is pretty typical. Some of them lasted like almost 2 days. So this was actually pretty good. They'll offer you breaks sometimes. They'll say, you're gonna have this teaching presentation, do you want 30 minutes to kind of prepare? Take those 30 minutes. And also they want 30 minutes, So don't feel bad about taking that time. But you also want to bring a water bottle, just be ready for that. So you have dinner when you get there, breakfast in the lobby, you have a research talk, you have a teaching demonstration, you have another interview with the search committee, you're meeting with the chair, you're meeting with the dean, you're just constantly on, right? And so I thought this was very good. Every meal is an interview, and I knew that going into it, but my first campus visit, we had breakfast in the hotel lobby. I was kind of relaxed, eating my waffle, and I was just talking about my family and stuff like that. And then someone took out a notepad and started taking notes. I was like, oh, this is a real interview, right? So you're always on. Just expect that. There's some things that they can or they should or shouldn't ask you, right? As far as personal issues, marital status, age, religion, but. I was asked some of that sometimes. I was asked a question and then someone else on the committee said, no, you can't ask that. Another time I was all the way to the dinner at the end where you go to this nice restaurant. It was beautiful. I'd never been in a restaurant like that. I'm living off ramen noodles as a grad student, and I'm ordering off like $50 plates, type thing. And I couldn't read anything on the menu, so I ordered the salmon because I could say it. I don't even like salmon, but in there, in the middle of the interview, they're dropping hints, and then I realized, wait a minute, are you LDS? And then they're like, surprise! So it wasn't the search committee chair, but it was someone at the university that wasn't even in the department. I thought it was kind of random that he was there, but. I really liked that, right? I mean, they really wanted me to feel welcome, then it gave me an opportunity, and then he also offered, hey, you want to get breakfast tomorrow, and I can tell you more about the ward and stuff like that. So they know, coming from BYU, more about you than others. And sometimes they think they know more than they do, so it goes kind of both ways. But this department has such a great reputation. That I wouldn't worry about that, right? I'll say that you need to have a genuine interest. If you're I like this. If you're a jerk, then be someone else for 24 hours. But at the same time, you want to be authentic for that 24 hours, right? You don't want to go and put on a show and then get in a position where you're not a good fit, So I assume nobody's jerk, so just be yourself. I really like this comment as well. This is Peggy Erber, who's recently retired. She's been through a lot of these things. And she said, sometimes they oversell themselves or they're arrogant in the interview. And you have to remember that they are going to be your future colleagues, right? So you don't want to show any disrespect or anything like that. You want to be confident, but I like what Leanna said, be confident but not too confident. And when she was talking about this, there was a situation where someone said, am I going to have to teach these courses? Am I going to have to do this? Am I going to have to do that? And in the end, she just felt like, well, why are you coming here then? Like, if you don't want to do any of these things, So you don't want to be too confident or arrogant. And the bottom line is, this is a really special time. Rarely are you going to have this opportunity where they're really bringing you on campus, showing you what they're doing. You're learning a lot. it's a time to network. Even if you don't go there, I found that I've still made connections that hasn't worked out with research or anything, but there's definitely opportunities that come from that. So enjoy it. When you're packing, you should have, in fact, I still have one right here. You should have, go buy a nice notebook. It's better than this than pulling out a laptop and then trying to take notes. I think it's better to have a nice moleskin notebook and just kind of jot down notes. You can have your questions in here, things that you want to take. But the biggest thing is, you're going to be asked, do you have any questions for us? Make a list. Look at the agenda. Who am I going to be talking to? Here's my list of questions for them. Here's my list of questions for them, them. And you might even run out. So just keep thinking of those questions. And I think it's okay, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, to pull out your list and say, here's some questions that I thought of beforehand.
You should be interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And that's really insightful. There's sometimes when you ask them a question, you're like, oh, maybe that isn't a good fit for me, right? So, and you want to know that this is your one opportunity to do that. Leanna, actually, I was in a Google Hangout with her, and she pulled down a binder, and she had all the faculty bios, the articles that they had written, even the information about the dean, all that stuff. You really have to know who you're speaking with. And she said, I would know kind of the terminology that they use in their articles, and then I'd bring that up in conversations with them, right, to that level. And she got hired in 2008, which, didn't Rick get hired in
2009.
2009?
Yeah,
But 2008 was a tough year to get hired, and
it was.
I think that she kind of interviewed really well from what she was describing. The research talk, Leanna also said that there was someone that was giving a presentation on innovative teaching, and they were using clip art from the 1990s. So you really want to work on those slides, really work on it. Make sure that it's rehearsed but not memorized. You want to be natural when you're presenting to them, and also you're going to have a very broad audience. Sometimes they don't know much about your field, and at times they'll be filling out an evaluation form on you, right? So you want to be aware of that. And I think this is a good cue for me, leave time for Q&A. A couple things that I'll just say is, one thing I didn't realize was how important that dean's interview was. I actually talked with my dean about this, and he said that committees make a recommendation, but in no order. They just say, these are the people that we could hire, and then he makes a determination. Sometimes he'll go back to them and say, you didn't tell me, but what do you think? He says he normally does that. Also, sometimes they'll say, we want to hire this person, and then he'll fail the search. We're not going to hire. I don't feel like any of them really met our standards. So that dean interview, I didn't realize how important that was. And so he said, when they come in and I say, do you have any questions? They say, well, how many faculty do you have? Or what's my course load going to be? Those are very unimpressive questions. The questions that he likes are, you've been here for 5 years. What was your vision when you came in, and how has that played out over those last 5 years? Those types of questions can be really powerful for him. It gives him an opportunity to kind of express what he's doing. And he also said, come prepared to talk about yourself. I remember my interview with him, he's very conversational. And so I knew that the culture was going to be similar at the college. So you really want to pay attention to that interview. Sometimes you're focused on the search committee, but you're also interviewing with all sorts of other people. So, and then negotiating offers. The other thing that he said is always negotiate. So there's things that you can negotiate. One thing that you can negotiate is salary, and I would suggest negotiating salary first, but then there's also all sorts of other things. So he said there's not a lot of wiggle room as far as salary goes, but beyond that, then you can do GRA hours, research funds, travel funds, summer pay, equipment. There's all sorts of things that you can do. But I'd also suggest they're going to be your colleagues, so know when to stop and just accept the position, So I'll go ahead and end there. Yeah.
Well, sure. At a public institution, your salary will be public too. So your colleagues will know what you make when you start. So you want to avoid a lot of the potential infighting that could arise from, trying to
And in a public institution too, it probably makes sense for you to go look at all the salaries
And you can use that to
in your
negotiate.
department, and you can use that to negotiate, yeah. So you kind of know the range.
I was talking to my wife and I was gonna say, well, I'm gonna talk about what people get paid, and she said, you're not gonna tell them what you get paid, are you? And I said, Google Jared Borup salary. And then 2 seconds later, she's like, oh. So, I mean, you can find out that information. Sometimes it's easier to access in other places. Sometimes it's like in a library that you can only look at the book for an hour type thing, but more and more you can access it online.
And with that, I mean, this sounds obvious, but consider cost of living where you're going, right? I haven't Googled Jared Borup's salary, I'm sure someone already did, but Jared lives in a place that I would expect to get paid more than if I lived in Pocatello, Idaho.
It's funny you said that. I was going through old emails, you know, trying to piece together my experience, and you gave me the exact same advice. You said, you know, $65,000 in this location is going to be a lot more than 65 in Mason, right, or Virginia. And I knew that going in, so you need to be aware of that. Look at some places where they have a low cost of living, they'll play that up, and you'll actually let's take you out with a realtor, you know. But I also found out that that realtor has connections with the department, so that's even an interview, you know. So I mean, you're always on, but it was helpful to kind of get a sense for that too.
So I participated in the department review that we just went through for the department. And one of the things that was interesting in the lunch we had together was the sense that BYU doesn't prepare students for the grant process.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering how that played out in your
There was 2 things that I didn't feel very prepared for, and one was grant writing and getting. But having said that, that was partly my fault because David Wiley had kind of a course of focus. I didn't know if it was a focus on grant writing, but he definitely talked about it. And he's a big grant getter, and I never approached him and talked to him about it, you know. So partly that's my fault. The other thing was, in the position that I'm in now, I do a lot of marketing, right? So I do all the recruiting for my students, and I wasn't prepared for that. And in this department, you don't really do that, right? I mean, people know who you are, and it's kind of
We should, but
yeah.
we haven't done much for that.
But I mean, if it's not broken, yeah. But for me, that's big, and my job depends on that. If I don't get 12 students a year, then you know, I have to teach extra courses, or my program will go away, and then I'm in a program that I'm not really a good fit for. So those were 2 areas where I felt like I wasn't as prepared with. I submitted my first grant this last semester. It was a very much a learning experience for me, and I was a co-PI, but I definitely didn't take the lead, and I kind of got feedback from them. So you can still get that mentoring at your institution.
I was just going to ask about how many of these jobs that you applied for were in instructional design departments, and how many were just colleges of education?
Almost all of them were instructional. But I did, in the interview process, I found that some of them were focused more on teacher preparation, you know? And about midway through the process, I realized that's really what I wanted to focus on. You know, talking with the students, I felt like it was easier to connect with them. It just felt like a better fit from where I was at the time. And so that's one reason why I really felt, I was really happy about my position because the program was a K-12 online learning, which is my research focus, and then I just work with teachers mostly, and I love that. That's my background. But I also I'm teaching some doc level courses next year, or a doc level course next year, and I'm teaching other courses that aren't really teacher ed focused, and I like that too. So you have to know who you are, what you want, and then you kind of learn that in the process too. Well, thank you. Let me just give you this last slide. So this is the presentation. So if you want that, I skipped over some slides and so you can get some advice. But also just contact me if you have any questions, or you know, at ACT or conferences. I'm more than happy to give you advice.
All right, let's give Jared a